So here we are at David Wasserman's house, my friend David Wasserman, who we've come to see today, the man who brought Apple Crumble to France, I believe. So we're going to meet him here. Here's his house and the courtyard. Beautiful day today as well. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Really nice to see you. So we've come to, let's say hello properly, like we normally would. It's great to be here. It's really good of you to take the time to actually show us how you made your apple crumble and tell the story of that as well. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
I'm really happy to do that, and it always makes me laugh when I tell the story. So it's just nice thing to share.
Lovely, and it's good to be here. I'll just pan around so people can see what.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's very untidy, but it's looking everything's just coming out so green and.
Oh, it's beautiful. And the pond in the middle. I can't hear frogs yet. I can usually hear frogs when you come here.
But there are not many in there. So one or two are buried deep down. There are lots in the pond in the field.
Oh yes, of course, yeah.
Because we repaired it last winter, and so now it's full of frogs again.
Oh, it's lovely. Well, should we go up to the kitchen?
Okay.
Let's do that. I'll follow you. Such a gorgeous
I do love it here when I just take a moment to stop and really let the beauty of it just hit me. To feel it's so easy to just take our everyday surroundings for granted, but it really is so beautiful.
It is. It's such an amazing place. And how many years have you been here now?
I've been here now, almost 20 years.
Wow.
At first not full time, but almost 20 years. God, it's a whole lifetime.
It is. I love that. I love the roofs around here in France. We have a lot of these roofs with the stone tiles, and they're beautiful, aren't they?
They really are.
Yeah. So you've got everything ready
for the apple crumble. Great. Yeah, we've got apples.
That's good.
Flour and butter, sugar, and what I quite often nowadays put in, some people do, some people don't, is oats as well.
Right.
Yeah. Because I guess it makes the pastry a little bit less heavy. Good thing to do, I think, is start off just peeling the apples.
Yeah, that's great, and I can help as well. Yeah.
I'm expecting you to help.
Good. Yeah.
Here's a knife.
Good, thank you. How many apples do you think then?
Well, why not? Let's do all 6.
Okay. Well, we've got 5.
5. Because there's so many different ways to make crumble. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes some people say it's really good to stew the fruit before. It gives it an added taste of something, sweeter. And if you've got lots of time, it's great to do that.
So, can I just ask you, Dave, were you the first person to bring apple crumble to France? And where does that story come from?
Well, lots of people tease me about it, but I honestly, there's no way I can prove it.
No.
But I honestly think I was.
Wow.
Shall I tell you a little bit about it?
Yeah, do. If you can you do that and cut apples?
Well, we'll see if I can manage 2 tasks at the same time. So in mid-70s, I've been living down in the south of France on the Commune.
Right.
And for various reasons that came to an end. And I came up to Paris and was looking for work. And I'd done a lot of building down in the south of France on the Commune, so I was looking for building work and decorating. And a friend of mine found me a job with this guy who had a vegetarian restaurant, and he closed it to refurbish it, and so I was helping him refurbish it. And I can remember one day we were up on the ladders, we each had a ladder, we were perhaps painting the walls or something, and he said to me, in his Italian accent.
Oh, he was Italian. He
Yeah.
wasn't French. Yeah.
And he said to me, "Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got to open the restaurant in a week, and I haven't found a cook." And I said to him, "I can cook."
And could you?
And I could, yeah, because I've
Yeah.
had a lot of experience of cooking for groups, lots of people on, been on the commune, but also
of course, yeah.
in other circumstances. And I loved cooking. So I said, "Yeah, I can do it." And from across the ladder, he looked at me and he said, "You're English, you can't cook." And he said,
fair.
"And you're a decorator, you're not a cook."
Yeah.
But I managed to persuade him to give me a trial. And so he gave me a trial, and so I started cooking in his restaurant.
Wow. And this is in Paris.
And this was in Paris.
Yeah.
In those days, there were, there weren't vegetarian restaurants everywhere. There were just 2 vegetarian restaurants in Paris, and we were one of them.
Wow.
And
I mean, even now, there's not many vegetarian restaurants. Not round here, there isn't, is there?
and
Yeah.
the other vegetarian restaurant, you had to be very solemn, and everyone ate very slowly and with a
Yeah.
serious look on their face. And ours, we just had a laugh, a good time, and just enjoyed food and chatting. And at first, I had to sort of cook what was his menu, because he'd been cooking before, and I just followed what he told me. And
was that Italian sort of based
no,
or not?
but it was really good stuff. But it was things like falafel,
Oh, right, yeah.
or rice pancakes, lots of things,
Yeah.
and vegetables, like chard and vegetable stews and
Yeah.
egg dishes. And then after a time, he let me start to bring my own dishes.
Trusted you.
And so one of the things I started making was apple crumble.
Right.
And I can't prove it, but I've never seen apple crumble anywhere else in France.
Right.
And everybody said to me at first,
What is
"Qu'est-ce que
this?
c'est, ça? What's this?" Nobody had ever eaten it before.
And did they like it?
And
Was
they-
it like an instant hit?
And they really
or-
liked it. And so
Yeah.
for about 6 or 9 months, I just cooked apple crumble most days, sometimes a different crumble.
Yeah.
And that was the start of apple crumble coming to France. And now we have all sorts of crumbles here, don't we?
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
just
you
apple
often get a
crumble,
crumble, don't you? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had apple crumble here as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've had it here with you before, but even in the restaurant as well.
So,
Yeah.
so I've got no proof, but I really do believe, even though often people laugh at me,
You're
that
making
I
it
did
up.
bring apple crumble to France.
Oh, I think you did. That's why I'm here.
So that's the first bit, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
do the apples, and now let's start on
I always think that's the hardest.
the
Well,
crumble.
the bit I don't like doing is the apples, really. If I'm making it.
So, I mean, there are all sorts of proportions and things like that, but
It's gonna be this
tend to
is
just
Dave
do it.
like that.
In French, we say au pif.
Oh, peef, and that
It's
means
just as it comes,
As it
you
comes.
know, or what feels right.
yeah.
So, a good dose of flour.
I love this because so often, like, and it'll be the same with this video, I'm sure. When you make videos, they want to know precisely, like, how much of this and how much of that. And I think that's something that's, again, I think that is part of living simply and just simplifying life. You don't have to have a recipe book. You don't have to measure everything out
No.
all the time. You can have, the fun of experimenting, or quite often it doesn't matter too much.
No, it doesn't matter. And then, I mean, and as you were saying earlier, then sometimes you make mistakes.
Yeah.
But what happens after a while is you just get
You'll
a
get,
feel for it.
yeah.
So rather than having to read the proportions,
You feel them.
you feel them. And,
Yeah.
and you can always add, and sometimes you get them wrong. And so you add a bit more butter, or you add a bit more flour or whatever.
Yeah, so there's a bit of
Adjust it.
flexibility even in the process of doing it.
Because what you want really is, well, different people like different ways, but what I like is you get a little bit of small crumbly bits and
Yeah.
also some big
Chunky bits.
chunky bits, exactly.
Yeah, I like the chunky bits. Yeah, no, it's nice. There we go.
And then once you get, really skilled with it,
Whoops.
we're just going to make a basic crumble today. But you can add sort of all sorts of things, and raisins and other fruit.
Whatever you feel like you want.
like.
Whatever you like the flavour
You can
of.
cook the apples before if you wanted. So there's our basic mix of oats, flour and sugar. And now we're going to add some butter
Brilliant.
and crumble it.
This is so easy. This is what we like.
I'm going to add a little bit more, because the other thing, of course, you have to make enough crumble to fill
Yes. Lots of crumble.
your
Yeah,
our dish.
wow, this is a solid. It's very solid, that.
And so, of course, it's possible to get everything right about your proportions of crumble and apple, and then you find you've got totally the wrong amount for your dish.
Yeah, that's an important thing.
I'm going to let you cut this up
Okay.
while I go and wash my hands.
Fine. Oh, very good.
I am going to say to
Do it
people,
properly.
it's good to wash your hands
Good
before
to wash
you
your hands. So how much,
crumble.
this is probably a silly question, how much butter do I want to use? About half?
Yeah.
Down into that. Whoops. And just cut it into little chunks. Then.
Yeah. And here again, you'll find that different people tell you different things. Some people say, oh, you should have the butter really cold. Other people say,
Oh yeah.
make sure it's out of the fridge for an hour or two before. And
This is quite nice and soft, but not
yeah,
greasy. Is that okay?
absolutely wonderful.
Brilliant.
So, and you just break it up into its little bits. But you make crumble quite often, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, because I think it's one of those things that I find it's easy to make, and people like it. Most people like apple crumble,
Yeah.
don't they? It's the sort of it's a nice solid pudding as well. You feel like you've had something.
Yeah.
So, have you got any good stories of sharing apple crumble with other people in France? What's your most memorable eating of apple crumble, would you say?
I don't know, there've been lots of... God, I've eaten so many apple crumbles in my life. I hesitate to count how many, but... Yeah, I do remember one particular time. We've been building one of the roofs here, and there were about 20 of us here all the time, and lots of young people and some of us older ones, and we were all eating and cooking together, and so one time somebody said, I'm going to make a crumble. Yeah, I can remember it was a young Australian woman, and she was making the crumble how she wanted, and then one of my friends said, oh, I'm going to make a crumble as well.
Yeah, like a competition almost.
Like a competition. And they each started making their own crumble, and they were having, not arguments, but this little, no, you should do it like this. And one said, yeah, I just put everything in. The other, and my friend said, no, you've got to cook the fruit first, so all the flavours come out. And he was really getting into it. And then someone else joined in and said, I'm going to show you how to make it. And I didn't make mine. No, I just stayed well out of it.
Yeah.
And so it was amazing. Someone else made some custard.
Right.
And, and it was a beautiful summer's evening. We were sitting out in the courtyard, and we had our meal. And then we ended up with three different crumbles.
crumbles. Yeah.
And lots of custard and cream. And we were almost probably slightly pissed by then. And we just ate them all with delight. And they were all different. And it was just such fun, everybody sort of chatting about, no, this is the best way to do it, this is oh no, I don't like it like that. But it wasn't just theory, it was like we had it in front of us, and so we could all voice our opinion of for what it was worth.
For what it was worth, yeah.
Not much, and it was just I remember that, it was a really lovely evening, and that's one of the lovely things about Woof, and having a lot of people living here, and
yeah, because that's
all these
something else,
people-
Dave. Yeah, the fact that because you have woofers. And
Yeah.
I wondered if you might just want to just say what woofers are, because a lot of people don't know about woofing.
Well, woofers are people who come and help you farm, and I'll tell you a little bit more, but it was just nice to have all these people from different backgrounds who normally wouldn't meet, and we just all came together, all working together and playing together. It was just really lovely. It's a really sweet memory.
Yeah, that's really nice. Do you think there's a big difference between the way French people approach making food and eating food and the way the English people approach eating, or do you feel there's not much difference?
I mean, I love France, and it's really, it's in my blood now, and it's become my roots in some way. So I'm most probably prejudiced, but what I like, French people bring a real art to making food, and it doesn't have to be anything special. It can just be salad leaves, and yet they treat them not with reverence, but they really make a lovely sauce to go with it, and or it can just be something really simple.
It's not like having loads of ingredients necessarily, because
Exactly.
again we're back to the simpler thing.
And nothing expensive, nothing which costs a lot of money, and you can see that in like where we live here, can't you? That a lot of the local dishes are things like, I don't know, kidneys and salad or something like that. Really cheap ingredients, or even something like pate. Well, what is pate? It's just bits of leftover meat originally.
I love the salads here in France.
Yeah,
really good.
I want to tell you this story. You never met Brigitte, my wife, who's sadly dead. First time ever I got invited to her house in Paris, and she came from a very simple background. Parents weren't rich at all. Invited me to come and meet her family.
Yeah.
And she said, we have to get there by 11:30, we're going to have lunch. So I imagined, just a simple lunch. Got there at 11:30, and we started off with, aperitif, yeah?
Yeah.
So there, and then of course you have to have a couple, and it's very difficult to say no.
Very difficult, yeah. And you'd only be quite young then as well.
Yeah,
I guess.
In my mid-20s or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we had the first course. I can't remember what it was. It was really delicious, but very simple. And then second course, and then salad. And by this time it got to about 3:00 or so in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Two things stand out for me. So after we'd had salad, and then we had cheese, and then so somebody said, and we'd had a different wine with each course. And then somebody said, okay, we're going to have dessert now. And and I was really thinking, my God, how long does this meal go on for? But what was lovely was we all took our plates and we turned them over.
Yes.
Wiped it with a piece of bread, turned it over, and then they just served dessert, on the other side. And I thought, wow.
That's really good from a washing. Now that is simpler living,
That is
isn't
really
it? Yeah,
simple.
one plate, not lots of washing up and stuff.
And then what I loved, we sat round a bit longer eating our dessert, then had coffee, which you have to have. By now it was about 5:00 in the afternoon, and then people started talking about what were they going to have for dinner.
Let me out.
And I thought, what is this country? So it's very different.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
They love food
and family and all that is very important.
Yeah.
So we're going to construct the crumble now.
Yeah, let's put the bits together and see what happens.
And it looks it's lovely. Nice crumble. Like
Yeah.
you were saying before about it having a mixture of some nice big chunky crumbly bits. And,
and then you can always just do that and then sort of break it up a bit and you've got nice big bits.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Construction.
Let's just.
It's great.
And just spread it out a bit.
This is good. There's loads of this, isn't there? Sorry, I'm taking over now.
Good. Team effort.
Team effort. Yeah, that looks great.
Okay.
Right.
Shall we stick it in the oven?
Yeah, put it in the oven. That's a good idea.
Okay. We'll see what's happening in about half an hour.
Brilliant.
Perhaps we can even eat it.
Yeah. Is it ready?
It could be. Shall we see?
Have a look and see. Yeah.
Okay. It's looking a good colour. Apple crumble.
Oh wow. Smells fantastic. Oh, it's good, Dave. Right.
So, what are we going to do with it then?
I think we should eat it. Do you want me to serve it?
Yeah, why not?
Is that alright? Have a look. Oh wow. Oh, it certainly smells very good. Is that okay for you?
That's plenty.
Is that plenty? That tiny bit as well?
Yeah, a little bit as well.
There you go.
You.
Yeah, I'll do the same. Wow, it's got a lovely, the topping's great. Oh, and a bit of yogurt.
A little bit of fromage blanc.
Lovely, thank you.
I've never really understood the difference between fromage blanc and
fromage frais.
And fromage frais and yaourt and I don't
It's
know.
all a bit yogurty to me, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Cooking. Cheers.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit, as I say.
There you go. That's also a really nice thing about France, isn't it? Have you noticed that
It's good.
wherever you go, someone passes you and you're eating and they say bon appetit?
It happened today to me and Tom. They do that all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah. That shows again how important they think food is and eating and that kind of thing. Anyway, this is great, Dave. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Little bit crunchy, a little bit.
Perfect.
Good.
That we come out here and I'm going to talk to Dave a little bit about his life and living a simpler life, because I think I've known you about 10 years and I think you live quite a simple life.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I think we've got to define what that means for you. Like, what would you say a simple life is?
Yeah, when you first talked to me about it, and so I thought about, what is a simpler life? And I think for me it's sort of letting go of a lot of the sort of exterior stimuli, like being interested in going to the cinema or the theatre or going to lots of concerts or, and actually not limiting, but bringing in the sort of area of where I put my attention somehow, and both in practical terms, so not travelling so far, getting food which I either grow myself or from local people who are growing food, or so that my life is not anymore sort of so much based in not in a city, but also not in such a widespread network. And at the same time, it seems to me that it's about being more in touch with what I'm actually feeling, what's important to me. Yeah, I think for me, perhaps in some ways, the simpler life is about feeling my heart more. What does my heart want?
Yeah.
And not, oh wow, there's this to do or that to do, but and being drawn away from myself, but actually being more at home with myself and what is it I really want at this moment.
Yeah.
And I think as well it's about processes, whether it's about food or about friends, just being that much closer, that more direct, so that I don't have to go off to the supermarket all the time to buy my vegetables. And obviously, if I do go to the supermarket, there's a much greater choice of vegetables.
Yeah.
But if I've just gone out in the morning and picked some carrots and cooked them straight away, the taste is so much better.
Yeah.
And so it somehow feels to me like the simpler life is about actually having a richer life. You discover the richness within little things.
Yeah.
And you let that come out rather than just, as you were saying earlier, sort of skating on the surface.
Yeah, we were talking a bit earlier, Dave and I, and we thought we were videoing and we weren't, so we missed this bit of conversation. So, but I think it sort of fits in with what we're saying now. And I was talking about my analogy that I have of life being like a big fruit cake with icing on the top, and that most of the time we're living in the icing layer. And we've got all this, it's very sweet and sickly, but sort of maybe, you said, well, you sort of taste that sugar and it's like, wow, and life's sort of coming at you in that way. But underneath, we've got this huge depth of fruitcake with all the nuts and fruit, raisins, things like that in it. And that's the sort of really, the deeper, more interesting part of life. And that maybe that's the bit that's a bit hidden from a lot of us. And if we actually just take the time to even scrape the icing off the cake or get beyond it, then life can be richer and more fulfilling, but through little things. Because the other thing you were talking about was your chickens this morning, and you were talking about getting eggs from your hens.
Just getting eggs, going out into the garden, saying hello to the chickens, spending a few minutes with them, looking at them, and not, I can remember when I first had chickens and I used to think, oh God, they're so boring, and they don't do anything. And then slowly I started to see that actually each chicken is an individual and she has her own way of doing things and her own little characteristics, and to start to explore that and just to feel that, where most of the time we're skating over the surface. And, continuing your analogy, if you take the time to chew on your piece of cake, usually what we do is we just swallow it.
Yeah.
If you take the time to chew it and you start to really feel, God, this nut, there are all these flavours in it, or this raisin, wow. And you just awaken to taste, to more and more taste. And so, for me, I think the simpler life is not about denying yourself things.
No.
But it's about coming home more
to yourself,
to yourself,
your
and
heart,
to what's important to you and what you enjoy in life.
And finding that connection with that, I guess, because I think so often in life it's like we're almost being told what to enjoy. It's like people are sort of, whether it's your mainstream news or other people, it feels sometimes like it's like you're being told this is what you should be doing or enjoying, or hey, look at this thing, rather than just slowing right down and taking the time to question as well, to ask the questions. Am I happy doing this? Is this what I really want to do? Am I enjoying this? Why am I doing this thing? Because so many times it's just like habits that we've developed as well, and you wonder where they've come from and how much they serve
so
you.
Strong, aren't they, in society? So it helps, I think, to really appreciate it. Perhaps at some point it's good to be able to cut yourself off a little bit from the exterior life, because these, as you're saying, these influences are so strong that you need to create a little bit of space around yourself, that you can just sort of not feel them so strongly for a while,
Yeah.
and gain confidence in your own processes and in
Yeah.
your own desires and your own feelings. Yeah.
Would you say, is there times when, what's been the real positives of living a simpler life? I think we've kind of, we've touched on the positives, and we kind of think, yeah, this is really nice, taking the time to be in the sun, to appreciate things, to connect with ourselves. What would you say has been the harder side of that? Has there been a harder side? Is there a downside to it in terms of, I don't know, relationship or just life in general?
Well, I don't really, I don't immediately see a downside, but I guess that one of the things that's happened is that I've started to lose touch with some people who I used to be very friendly with, because they live a long way away and because our lives have followed a different path. And sometimes I'm sad about that, but on the other hand, here I feel really part of a community, and I find that's an incredible support, and so sometimes I can miss friends, or I can miss not being that close to someone who's been really important in my life. But perhaps that's a little bit friendship anyway. We go through life
as
and
we get older, and
we lose some friends, we make new ones, and yeah. But I think I really do feel. I think often, I don't know. I mean, perhaps this is just me, but I think a lot of people sort of would echo or complain about this. A lot of us, when we live in cities or when we're really busy, we feel a little bit adrift. We've lost our bearings a little bit. We might not see it in those terms, but I think a lot of people do feel that. And when you start to live a simpler life and become part of a more defined community, then you feel really supported within that community, and that's. I mean, I really feel that support as something very. I can almost feel it as a sort of
almost physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you feel that?
Yeah. I think I do. I feel I feel very lucky to be here and to be able to do this. And I think one of the reasons for making these videos is to try and share to other people, just to show that there are different ways of living. And that's why I think it's nice to actually see alternative ways of doing things. I get a bit concerned sometimes, think, is it just a very privileged thing? That, people have even said to me in the past, well, it's all right for you. You can do that. Not everybody can do that. I would say that probably wherever you are in your life, you can probably simplify it to some degree. And if it's about connecting with your heart and thinking, what do I really want to do, what serves me, then I think we can do that wherever we live, even in the middle of a big, busy city. And not everybody wants to live this kind of life either. I accept that. And, for me as well, it's like I like the cinema, and we've done our own films and things here on a smaller scale. And I think there's other ways of doing it. But I do feel very supported, yes. And I think it is physical, really. It is that sort of feeling of having a very strong network of people around you. I think for us, because most of the people that I know here, people that are from other countries, have done that thing of moving from another country. And I do think that makes your networks quite strong, because a lot of people don't have their families close to them.
That's true.
So in a way, your friends become more like family in that way.
And we are very, very, we are very privileged, and we're very, very lucky. But I also think we've made choices. And sometimes at the beginning, those choices can feel like we're denying ourselves something. So, okay, we're giving up having lots of money, perhaps.
That's a good one. We're giving up having lots of money.
But
yes.
We've made the choice even though it seems hard perhaps at first, especially at first, something's more important to me than having a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think it's important not to see the simpler life as something which is limiting and where you're having to make an effort. It's actually something that you've chosen freely because you value other things.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I was going to, another question I wanted to ask you, Dave, was how you balance up living a simpler life with earning money and earning enough money to live, and how that's worked for you really in your life, and or how it's not worked, I don't know.
Well, one of the things I find really interesting is that when I used to have a full-time occupation and I had a lot more money, I worried constantly about money.
Yeah.
Did I have enough, etc., etc. Now I have much less money. I don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting as well, you know, me and Tom, your partner, we've been working together for the last year because perhaps we both decided, actually, we'd like some more money. And so we've been building together. And I've done that for a year. I've had more money, and I've been really happy to have more money to sort of just have little treats and not to think, how much does this cost? But to just think, I fancy having that or going there. Nothing too wild, but it's been really enjoyable.
Yeah.
And now I've just also taken the decision, okay, actually I want to have more time for myself again. And so I'm not going to work so much and I'm going to have less money, but I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, it's
And
so it's sort of flexible, a fluid thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're no longer, there's not some other organisation or
Body.
big boss or whatever in control
Yeah.
of what we're doing. We can actually choose. And that, I think that's a really important aspect of what I see as a simpler life, that we are making the choices
Yeah.
and they're not being imposed upon us.
Yeah, me too. I mean, when we came here, it was about becoming debt-free. So getting rid of our mortgage and any loans we had or anything, and just for the first time in our lives for a long time, just not owing any money to anybody. And that felt such a liberating feeling.
Yeah.
But, you know, the other side was we didn't have much and we had to work hard to make a house, like you know, with your place. And we had to do other things, and we still needed enough money. And I think that's it. You've got to have enough, haven't you, to cover however you choose to live.
Yeah.
So the more simply you choose to live, in a way, the less money you need. We've got a very small house here in France, not like yours. Dave's house is very big, but that meant we don't spend as much money, and because we had to make the house more or less, and. So and for a good 10 months we lived in our camper van and stuff like that. So it is choices. It's not like it's always easy choices, but they're the choices that you feel more incongruent with how you feel. I think it's like you're living.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I felt I'm actually living in a way that is congruent with how I actually feel.
Yeah, and
It's not always. It's a bit of a...
and one of the things I notice about you and Tom is, you know, how much time you have now to do the things that you want to do. And so you're spending less time earning money, but you have enough for your needs, and you have all this time to just do what you want, to pursue your interests, to enjoy yourselves, to
make videos.
make videos.
Sit with you, Dave.
And that's a choice.
Yeah.
Which is often very, very difficult for people, but one can choose to move in that direction, however difficult it is.
Yeah. And I think it's a bit of an ongoing challenge in a way, and maybe that's what it is to be human, like you're saying about the missing of friends and things like that, but these things happen as you go through life, things change, and I think, sometimes I think, God, I really want to go to the cinema. You know, when I was back in the UK, I went with my sister to this amazing cinema. They've obviously moved on in the last 10 years since I've been, and wow, and I actually really enjoyed that experience, this big chair going back and a huge film and, huge screen rather, and it was nice, but I wouldn't want to do it all the time. And maybe that's where life has become, it's a bit like having a glass of wine, isn't it, or a bottle of wine. It's like nice to have a bottle of wine sometimes. If you do that every single day, it's not special anymore.
No.
And,
and it actually can take you over, can't it?
Well, yeah, well,
like anything
that
can.
example, yeah, it can do. But anything can, yeah.
There's something very special about being able to live the way one wants to live. And I look at my life and I look at your life, and all the things, as you were saying, like I've been able to put on film shows here. Earlier we were talking about Woofers having so many people to come and stay here from all walks of life and of all ages, and sharing things with them, running groups, dancing.
We met through dancing.
Yeah, so many things which back in my old life there was this sort of, I'd really like to do that, but I was scared and I didn't have the time, and I couldn't find a way to do it. And here it just somehow, nowadays it just seems to come natural. I'd like to do that.
I'll do it.
Okay, I'll do it,
Yeah, no, that's really nice. Yeah, and for you, was it like a conscious thing that you thought, I want to live a simpler life, or was it something that just evolved, that you just sort of discovered as you grew?
Yeah, I don't know. I was unhappy in the life I was living, and I don't know if I saw it in terms of living a simpler life, but what I did feel was that I was so constrained by my circumstances that I'd fallen into this way of life which I found very stressful and which didn't really bring me happiness, and I knew I wanted that to change. But I didn't actually have a vision.
It wasn't like, I am seeking a simple life, no.
I had no idea, and even ending up in this beautiful, beautiful house, I mean, it wasn't even me who chose it, it was my wife and daughter who chose it, and at first I thought, oh God, no, and then over the time it's just grown on me and it's become part of me and I've become part of it. And so for me, I think there was this really strong desire to change and to feel freer, but I had no idea what was going to happen.
What that was going to be.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you'd give to somebody? I know you're not big on giving people advice, especially when they haven't asked for it. But if there was, say, someone, they may be in the UK or America and they're just sort of thinking, I want to do something, I want to start to live in a different way. Would there be anything you'd say that might be a good starting point, say?
Well, I mean, I thought a little bit about this, and it's very difficult to give practical advice, isn't it? Because everyone's circumstances are different.
So different, yeah.
What I would say is a good way to start is, even if it's only a minute a day or 5 minutes a day, just take a little bit of time to be just with yourself, not to be listening to music or not to be having a drink with friends, or just to be by yourself and just ask yourself and feel, what is it I really want at this moment? And let that grow. And it will grow if you give it attention, if you give it some space, then that growth, that will occur, that what's deep within you but hasn't yet been able to come to the surface and flourish will begin to. And then you can start to sort of make little acts. It might be that, okay, I'll go and get my food from the local co-op or organic co-op, or it might be that I'm going to stop travelling 100 miles every day to do this or that, and who knows what it will be, or it might just change a tiny little thing. But it's letting. I think we all need time to let who we are really emerge out of the sort of pressure of our lives in society and our lives with jobs, you know. And this could be a heavy weight, and so we need to find a space for ourselves where who we are can really start to speak to us.
Sounds good, Dave. I think we'll probably end on that, because that seems a good place to start. We could talk. I know that we could talk, you know, forever, and maybe we do another one sometime. So we've certainly got to do another one to make the apple crumble again, because I wasn't videoing. So we can do that.
I really enjoyed talking to you, and I really enjoyed making this video, and it's been a real pleasure, and it's been lovely, and it's been lovely to think about these things which, even in our simpler life, we sometimes don't think about and don't
talk about, maybe in the same way. It's been a real pleasure for me too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.